It was a scorching summer day in Chowchilla, California. The year was 1976. Nobody could have predicted the horror that was about to unfold. This is the story of the Chowchilla school bus kidnapping, a chilling tale of terror, resilience, and the enduring strength of the human spirit. The yellow school bus, its sides adorned with colorful hand-drawn pictures, rumbled down the road. Inside, 26 children, their laughter echoing through the bus, were lost in their own world of games, jokes, and anticipation for the summer ahead. Ed Ray, the bus driver, a kind and gentle man, navigated the familiar streets of Chowchilla. They were oblivious to the sinister plot that was about to unfold. As the bus approached a bend in the road, a van suddenly cut it off, forcing it to screech to a halt. 3 masked men, their eyes cold and menacing, emerged from the van, their very presence radiating an aura of danger. The kidnappers, their movements swift and calculated, wasted no time in herding the terrified children and their driver into the waiting van. The van, its windows blacked out, sped away from the scene of the crime, leaving behind the tranquility of Chowchilla and plunging into the unknown. The air inside was thick with the stench of fear and gasoline, a noxious combination that made it hard to breathe. The children, huddled together like frightened animals, clung to each other for comfort, their small bodies shaking uncontrollably. Ed Ray, despite his own fear, tried to reassure the children, his voice a calming presence in the darkness. He told them to be brave, to have faith. He knew they were in grave danger, and he desperately wished he could do more to protect them. After what felt like an eternity, the van finally lurched to a stop. The doors swung open, revealing a blinding light and a group of men, their faces obscured by ski masks, waiting to usher them into their worst nightmare. Herded like cattle, the terrified children and their driver were forced to climb down a ladder into a stifling, dark abyss. The air was thick with the smell of damp earth and mildew, and the only sound was the frantic beating of their own hearts. They were trapped, buried alive in a cramped, makeshift tomb, a moving van buried underground. Ed Ray, his heart heavy with a sense of responsibility for these innocent lives entrusted to his care, struggled to maintain his composure. Despite the terrifying situation, the children and Ed Ray find strength in unity. Ed Ray, determined to keep their spirits up, rallied the children, encouraging them to sing songs, tell stories, anything to distract themselves from the horrific reality of their situation. And sing they did. Their voices, though shaky at first, gradually grew stronger, filling the darkness with a glimmer of defiance. In that dark and terrifying pit, a profound sense of unity took hold. They shared their meager food, offered words of encouragement, and drew strength from their shared determination to survive. Trapped within the suffocating darkness of their subterranean prison, the children and Ed Ray faced a harrowing test of their endurance. Dehydration, a cruel tormentor, tightened its grip on their young bodies. Yet, amid the deprivation and despair, an undercurrent of resilience began to emerge. Ed Ray, drawing on reserves of strength he never knew he possessed, became a beacon of hope for the terrified children. His calm demeanor, his reassuring words, provided a lifeline to sanity in the face of unimaginable terror. The children, their young minds struggling to comprehend the gravity of their situation, found solace in shared stories, whispered games, and the comforting presence of one another. As the days slowly bled into nights, a glimmer of hope began to pierce the oppressive darkness of their confinement. Ed Ray, his mind working tirelessly, noticed a faint glimmer of light penetrating through a small crack in the roof of the buried moving van. This sliver of light, a beacon of possibility in their subterranean prison, sparked an idea in Ed Ray's mind, a daring and audacious plan for escape. Carefully, he shared his plan with the older children, his voice a low murmur in the darkness. They understood that their lives depended on their ability to work together, to follow Ed Ray's lead, and to never, ever give up hope. The children and Ed Ray worked together, their every action fueled by desperation and a glimmer of hope. Working tirelessly, their small hands raw and blistered, they chipped away at the earth and wood that imprisoned them. Each handful of dirt removed, each splinter of wood dislodged, brought them one step closer to freedom. Ed Ray, his heart swelling with pride and gratitude for the courage of these children, never wavered in his belief that they would escape. He encouraged them, praised their efforts, and reminded them that every ounce of their strength brought them closer to freedom. Hours melted into what felt like an eternity, the silence of their subterranean prison broken only by the scrape of wood against earth, the soft whisper of hope, and the steady rhythm of their breathing. Then, a collective gasp, a breakthrough. Through the narrow opening they had painstakingly carved, a ray of the setting sun pierced the oppressive darkness, casting an ethereal glow upon their dirt-streaked faces. It was a sight that sent a surge of hope coursing through their veins, a beacon of freedom beckoning them towards the surface. The sight of that single ray of light, a stark contrast to the suffocating blackness they had endured, breathed new life into their weary bodies. They dug with renewed vigor, their every action imbued with a desperate urgency. With the last of their strength, they shoved aside the final obstacle, a heavy piece of plywood that had served as their ceiling. The opening, still narrow and treacherous, offered a glimpse of the world they had been so cruelly torn away from, a world bathed in the soft glow of twilight. Ed Ray, his heart pounding in his chest, urged the children upward. One by one, they clambered onto his shoulders, their small bodies trembling with fatigue and exhilaration, and he boosted them up towards the opening. The climb was perilous, the earthen walls crumbling around them, threatening to send them tumbling back into the darkness. But fear had no place in their hearts at that moment, only the overwhelming desire to break free. Emerging from their tomb, the children and their driver taste the sweet relief of liberation. The first child emerged into the cool night air, gasping for breath, her eyes wide with a mixture of terror and wonder, then another, and another, until all 26 children stood blinking in the twilight, their faces streaked with dirt and tears, their bodies trembling with exhaustion and relief. Ed Ray, his own body battered and bruised, followed close behind, his heart swelling with an overwhelming sense of gratitude. They had done it. They were free. Section 1. The investigation begins. A town in shock as authorities launch a massive manhunt. News of the kidnapping ripped through Chowchilla like a wildfire, leaving a trail of shock and disbelief in its wake. The idyllic tranquility of their small town, once a source of pride and comfort, was shattered, replaced by a palpable sense of fear and vulnerability. Law enforcement agencies from across the state descended upon Chowchilla, transforming the normally quiet town into a hub of frantic activity. Sirens wailed day and night, their piercing cries a constant reminder of the gravity of the situation. Helicopters buzzed overhead, their searchlights scanning the vast expanse of farmland that surrounded the town. The FBI, their faces grim, took the lead in the investigation, their every move scrutinized by a nation hungry for answers. They interviewed witnesses, scoured the scene of the abduction for clues, and followed every lead, no matter how insignificant it seemed. The pressure was immense, the weight of expectation bearing down on them with crushing force. The children, their faces still bearing the emotional scars of their ordeal, bravely recounted their harrowing experience to investigators, their words painting a chilling portrait of their time in captivity. Their testimonies, though difficult to hear, provided crucial pieces of the puzzle, helping investigators to piece together the events leading up to the kidnapping and the identity of the perpetrators. Dead ends and mounting pressure plague the investigation. Days turned into weeks, and the initial wave of optimism that had followed the children's miraculous escape began to wane. The kidnappers, despite a massive manhunt and a nationwide appeal for information, had seemingly vanished without a trace. Leads that had initially seemed promising turned out to be dead ends. Witnesses came forward with fragmented memories and conflicting accounts. The kidnappers, it seemed, had planned their crime meticulously, leaving behind little evidence to connect them to the abduction. The pressure on the investigators mounted with each passing day. The media, sensing a waning public interest, began to question the thoroughness of the investigation, their headlines screaming accusations of incompetence and ineptitude. The families of the victims, their patience wearing thin, demanded answers, their grief and frustration palpable. The weight of the case, the sheer magnitude of the crime, took its toll on the investigators. They worked tirelessly, fueled by coffee and adrenaline, their personal lives put on hold as they dedicated every waking moment to bringing the kidnappers to justice. They knew that time was of the essence, that the longer the perpetrators remained at large, the slimmer the chances of finding them. Just when all hope seemed lost, a stroke of luck breathed new life into the investigation. A man, attempting to register a vehicle in another state, unknowingly provided the missing link that would crack the case wide open. The vehicle's description matched the one used in the kidnapping, and the registration led investigators to a wealthy family with a history of legal troubles. The Fields family. The patriarch of the family, Frederick Newhall Woods IV, along with brothers Richard and James Schoenfeld, were apprehended at their homes. The evidence against them was overwhelming. The van, the ransom demands, and the chilling accounts of the victims. The trial was a media spectacle, the nation captivated by the audacity of the crime and the resilience of the young victims. The defense, desperate to cast doubt on the prosecution's case, attempted to portray the kidnapping as a prank gone wrong, a misguided attempt to gain notoriety rather than inflict harm. But the jury, swayed by the emotional testimonies of the children and the weight of the evidence, was unconvinced. After weeks of testimony and deliberation, the verdict came down, guilty on all counts. The courtroom, packed with reporters, families of the victims, and curious onlookers, erupted in a cacophony of gasps and sobs. Justice, though delayed, had finally been served. The three men, their faces betraying a mixture of defiance and resignation, were sentenced to life in prison, their dreams of freedom buried beneath the weight of their heinous crime. The ordeal, though long over, left an enduring mark on the lives of those who had been trapped in that subterranean prison. The physical wounds may have healed, but the psychological scars, deep and enduring, continued to haunt their dreams. Many of the children, forever scarred by their experience, struggled with post-traumatic stress disorder, their childhoods irrevocably stolen. Simple things, a school bus ride, a dark room, the sound of a van's engine, could trigger flashbacks, sending them spiraling back into the abyss of their terror. Some retreated into themselves, their laughter silenced, their eyes reflecting a depth of pain that belied their tender years. Others lashed out in anger and frustration, their childhood innocence replaced by a cynicism that chilled their loved ones. Ed Ray, hailed as a hero for his courage and quick thinking, bore the weight of that day with quiet dignity. He remained a pillar of strength for the children, attending their trials, offering words of comfort, and advocating for their needs. But even his unwavering spirit couldn't erase the memories, the guilt, the what-ifs that lingered in the quiet moments. The town of Chowchilla, once a symbol of small-town tranquility, bore the scars of the kidnapping as well. The carefree innocence of childhood was replaced by a heightened sense of vigilance, a constant awareness of the fragility of safety. Parents held their children a little tighter, their hearts filled with a primal fear that whispered of dangers lurking in the shadows. The Chowchilla school bus kidnapping stands as a stark reminder of the darkness that can lurk beneath the surface of everyday life, a chilling testament to the vulnerability of innocence. It shattered the illusion of safety in small-town America, forcing the nation to confront the uncomfortable reality that evil knows no boundaries, no demographic, no zip code. Yet, amidst the horror and heartache, there emerged a glimmer of hope, a testament to the indomitable spirit of the human will. The children, those innocent victims of an unspeakable act, displayed a courage and resilience that belied their tender years. Their escape, a triumph of ingenuity and collective determination, captured the imagination of the nation, reminding us that even in the darkest of times, hope has a way of finding a foothold. Their story became a beacon of inspiration, a reminder that even in the face of unimaginable adversity, the human spirit can endure. It highlighted the importance of community, of coming together in times of crisis to support, to uplift, and to heal. It underscored the power of vigilance, of never taking safety for granted, of always being aware of our surroundings and those who may seek to do us harm. The Chowchilla school bus kidnapping, though a tragedy in every sense of the word, left an indelible mark on the American psyche. It forced us to confront our vulnerabilities, to reevaluate our priorities, and to cherish the precious gift of freedom. It reminded us that evil, though always present, will never truly triumph as long as there are those who dare to hope, to fight, and to never, ever give up.